Hey guys, so the power's out in my neighborhood, so I was pretty bored, so I figured I might as well provide a branded Despia list for post info, so essentially for NAWCQ, and kind of discuss some of the things that I've been exploring and really looking forward to your thoughts as well in terms of how you're going to adjust the list for the new format. So let's just get started. I did also want to just quickly highlight this Fire King deck box, incredible by Sleeve Chief. You can use code Akuna5 for 5% off, but just gotta say it's like the most beautiful deck box that I've ever received in my life. So thanks for sending it. But let's get started. So of course, we're just gonna start off with 3 Albaz. It is a 50 card list still, but I'm gonna just make some quick commentary. This is just standard. Same thing with double Quem. Even you could even argue for 1 Quem still. I think depends on how you want to run it, and I was considering. I'll talk about that a little bit later. The one tragedy that's still the norm is for Cartesia. I like playing a lot of things in 2, so I'm still playing Shrouded Dragon 2. A lot of people are playing this at 3, and I totally understand that. For me, I felt 2 has been plenty enough. Ironically enough, this is something you would normally run at 2 nowadays, especially if you're playing Allure of Darkness, and I totally agree with that. That's what I was doing myself. But with this iteration of the list, post-info, I was a little worried about main deck Droll, and so I decided to cut the Allures, which meant I also cut one Allure, one Merc. But to be honest with you, I would actually still consider playing double Merc if I sort of wanted to expand the deck size even more, because I think the second one, even without Allure, sometimes does come up. I do like the 1 kit still. I also like it that you can add this off something like, Brandon High Spirits, and it kind of helps you play with around Ash a little bit better depending on your hand. Bestial is 1 Lobelio, 1 Sternia. I still like playing the 1 Magmanut, also especially when you happen to draw these 2, which sucks, and you can have another target. Obviously that doesn't happen that often, and it's not much of a consideration, but I do like this in terms of being able to search any dragon. So Shroud Dragon, Albaz as you're going second. I think it's really nice. The 1 gimmick, although I have been seeing post-info replays with Fiendsmith, Snake Eye, and I think there are ways where they can get like an Appaloosa as the IP goes to the grave, so sometimes it might not come up, but I think nonetheless it's still nice to have. So moving on to the spells, we have triple branded fusion, 3 branded openings, normal, 1 red, 1 lost. Nice that it comes in ultra rare. I really like High Spirits. I'm glad it's there. And this is the thing that I decided to go back to is Nadir Servant, and the reason for this is because it can play through Droll, or rather play around Droll a little bit better, especially if you are able to get your Albaz into the grave, let's say with either Branded Opening or let's say like Shrouded Dragon, just if you're able to get it to the grave, because you can also add it to the grave, or rather add from the grave, whether it's Albaz or let's say Quem, because it counts as a Dogmatica monster, you can still activate this, which is kind of nice, and just being able to still gimmick locking is really good. I was considering playing Maximus again with this, especially with the extra deck being very tight now for a lot of decks when they're playing Fiendsmith stuff. Realistically though, that would only really work if you're going first and you're ripping their extra deck, and even then, if you're going first, you're gimmick locking anyways, so it probably doesn't come up too much. The other thing, the downside of having to play Maximus is that you probably also have to play Garura to maximize on the Deer Servant, and I decided there's just no space in the extra deck for that, so I felt this is still fine with Cartesia as long as you play Lulu. 3 fusion deployment, nothing crazy there. 1 foolish, 1 gold spark. I think I've seen some people cut this. I understand that as well. Sometimes it's nice. It's not just for tragedy, because that does play into Droll quite hard, but sometimes you don't have a choice. But you know what? Sometimes you might just hard foolish like the gimmick, and some other plays are available. Some more able to play through hand traps is Thrust. I have never been a huge fan of talents in Branded, just because the draw 2, like realistically, if your Branded Fusion got Ash, there's probably not too many plays you can do unless you maybe draw into like a fusion deployment that you didn't have a chance to before. But nonetheless, going second, I think it's great. Just ripping out like an Ash or taking a monster. Call by, of course. This one's definitely worthy of changing, even to like Imperm, which is not as impactful, but at least with Thrust you can set it aside from Fusion Duplication. But Droplet, I was considering Dark Ruler. For me personally, in my playstyle, I just like having things that are more flexible, going first and second. Obviously, Dark Ruler is much better going second than Droplet is for the most part, especially maybe the next format. But I just like, especially with the deck tendency to not kind of open a strong board if you get hand trapped, or maybe not even hand trapped, you just brick. I do like having something flexible, but that's also where this comes in. I was playing Super Poly for the longest time. I did cut that finally because I don't think Super Poly is amazing against into like a Fiendsmith Snake Eye board, for example. This is nice. Obviously, you can't deal with Appaloosa still, unfortunately, but I do also like the versatility of this, helping you play around Imperm on your own, like a Luber, for example, which definitely can really hurt because, Thrust can't really work if your opponent Imperms you. And of course, speaking of Thrust, we do have so a lot of people play 3 or 1. As I said, I'm someone that likes to play things in 2s. I've been doing this for maybe like the last 3 to 4 weeks. So I honestly like it. I think it actually does warrant, especially going first. Going second post side, I do take one out, but nonetheless, I think it's nice to have. One Retribution as normal, nice for the Ultra. I'm also going back to just one main deck evenly, just second Cashier format. I do think that, you know what, it's still quite the blowout card, and I just want something going second game 1 with the thrust target. Moving on to the extra deck, we have standard double Albion, 1 Lubellion, double Mirrorjade, 1 Titanica, 1 Sanctifier, Gimmick Lock, 1 Mimbrum. But I am on double Granule as well. I have, if you watch my recent sort of how to play video, there are some workarounds where you can still Gimmick Lock with, you know, even just 1 Granule in your extra deck, even through hand traps, but definitely does make it a little bit more flexible. I had almost considered playing, you know, like for example, I talked about Garura for like the Maximus and Deercement, maximize it, but I think it's safer to go with double Granule. The reason why I decided to go with Masquerade instead of Quiritus is because I am already playing Lulu now because of Nadir Servant, and this is something that you can bring out with this, and at least it can potentially serve as an interruption. So I figured, you know what, might as well have this one instead. But I do think you really need a Despian level 8 fusion monster. It definitely does come up to unbrick yourself. Some non-branded specific cards, but Chimera, this one's very important, Warlord Furies, especially after you like Gimmick Lock, and then if you are able to also set this up on like the main phase with Cortesia that you still have access to, and like pop some backwards and stuff like that. And the one Drago doesn't come up as much, I guess, maybe without the Super Poly, but still I think does warrant coming up. Lastly, onto the side, I did want to main deck this, especially for next format, but you know what, it is a 50 card list. I think I just decided for decks that I know for sure Droll is going to be very good, rather than game 1. The 3 Nibs, double Dark Ruler, I think this is going to be pretty strong. Obviously, Snake Eye, Fiendsmith, they have a way to kind of play around with Dark Ruler, but for the time being, I think it's still worth having, as well as 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Feather Storm, just for thrust and stuff. I think Lightning Storm will be pretty good as well. Still, I think has to be safe. Play the Cosmic, the second and third evenly in the side, and then the last Magic Deflector. I'm still on this, so if you play Allure, I personally like to play There Can Be Only One, especially because that's good against something like, let's say, Yubel, you know, and a variety of different decks. So I think that's warrant consideration. Or let's say D-Bear is another one. I kind of like the flexibility of Magic Deflector, especially against some decks where, let's say, like Flunder, even though it's probably not that popular, you never know, maybe with like this new format, maybe they come back a little bit, this can still be good against them as well, and I think it's pretty nifty. Alright guys, so that was it for the deck profile for Branded Despia, post-Infinite Forbidden format. Really excited to see how it's going to fold out. Excited to see a lot of you hopefully at the NAWCQ as well, so definitely a huge thanks to all of you for watching. Big thanks to my patrons and sponsors as always. Big thanks to my wife for recording, and well, take care guys.